We'll find Bill Biederman. We're going to call this meeting to order of the Patricia A. Hannaford Regional Technical School District Board. It is Thursday, February 16th, and it is 6 o'clock on the dot. I'd like to start with introduction of board members, and I'm going to start on my left.
Kim Franham, I'm from New Haven, and I'm the community at large member for the Mount Abraham School District.
Hello, my name is Tiffany Love. I'm a Middlebury resident, and I am a workforce investment board member.
Steve Orzak, I'm a representative from ACSD, and I'm a resident of Middlebury.
Nick Colston, living in Shoreham, and I represent ACSD as well.
Suzanne Buck, I'm from ACSD, and I live in Bridport.
John Markowski, resident of Bridport and Workforce Investment Board member.
And online,
Steve Rooney from Starksboro, representing MAUSD.
and I'm going to say we still have not seen Bill show up online. Okay, and so then for administrators in the room, we'll start with our newest.
Rebecca Goulet, the new business manager as of Monday, the 13th, so 4 days in.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Very happy to be here.
We're happy you're here too.
Yes. If only you knew how happy.
Tim Williams, Superintendent Director.
Jay Stetzel, Assistant Director for the Career Center.
And then in the corner, hiding,
Patrice Alexander, Administrative Assistant.
and to my left.
Linda Barrett, clerk.
Do we have any guests online?
Brenda Logie.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, we'll.
Actually, I did have a question, and I don't know whether we should wait to the end, but under the committee meetings and other events, it has the facilities meeting at 7:30. I was under the impression at that meeting that we had changed it to 8.
No one's initiated that process that I know of.
Oh,
Or no one's let us know that it's changed.
Okay. Okay, I guess we'll bring it up again.
Okay. Is there anything else? Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the agenda as is, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Visitor comments? Does Brenda have a comment, or is she just here to listen?
Okay. Brenda, you can raise your hand if you have a comment. I'm not seeing a Zoom hand go up, though, sorry.
It's okay, I was just
Okay. Correspondence. Do you want me to read the piece that I received, Tim, or do you want me to hold that for later?
No, it'd probably be good to read it now and then prior to the conversation later.
Okay. I just gotta find it now.
I can read it.
Oh, okay, because it's in my email. I just found it.
Okay.
This is from Missy. It says, Dear Suzanne Buck and board members, I'd like to inform you that I am resigning my position on the Patricia Hannaford Career Center Board as a workforce investment representative. It has been a great pleasure for me to serve on the board, better understand the important work of the school board, and to better understand the interworkings of the valuable and critical resource the Career Center is for our community. I will miss everyone and wish you all the best of luck. Best, Melissa Missy Beckwith. So we will take that up under board vacancies. Since the agenda was approved, I'm presuming then that nobody had an issue with the minutes of January 19th. Okay, Nick, would you read the accounts, please?
Yes, I will. Energy project, these are for January. $288,092. General fund, $105,258. Adult education, $4,315. The revolving fund, $5,368. Student activities, $730. And 2 payrolls as usual. One for $84,419 and the second one for $99,245.
Thank you. And as usual, I'll put out
Good luck.
the invitation if anybody would like to join Nick and I in perusing the bills and learning about
We
how.
may have to start to offer some goodies.
All right, you want me to bait now? I could probably come up with something, but yes, it's a great way to learn about not only, we talk about the budget in the fall, but as you do the bills, you get to learn how the money's actually spent and where it goes, and all of that good stuff. So that's my plea for anybody that wants to come join us at any point in time. I know some people have stepped in.
Yes.
Next on our agenda is policy 2.7, compensation and benefits. I'm not sure who's taking that one.
That's a good question, because Mark put it together.
Yeah.
I can,
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's pretty standard policy. It basically just outlines that the superintendent can't change their own salary or benefits in the contract. And then it just goes on to talk about, how we would make decisions on other things, travel and other obligations. They can't enter into obligations without the board knowing at certain thresholds. And it's something just good to review from time to time, but it's very standard. And as the business manager, it would be my responsibility to report to the board if something was out of compliance with this.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions on policy 2.7? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept policy 2.7, compensation and benefits.
So move.
Moved by Nick, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Judd. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I would like to know, is this a boilerplate, or is this a holdover, or is this developed just by us? The SBA, is this a,
It's a standard policy, governance policy.
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
And so like on all the governance policies, they'll come back every year, but
Right.
the answers
Right,
are different.
yeah, I just
Right,
was,
we update it with the current numbers and,
Yes.
exactly.
yeah, sure, I was just making sure we weren't crafting something new here.
Oh, no.
No.
I didn't think we were, but.
Yeah.
Boilerplate special.
And I think this is an annual, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
And internal financial controls, which is another monitoring policy.
Suzanne, point of order, you did not vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Motion was on the table, it was seconded. There was one question, is there any other? Steve, anything from you? No? Okay, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of the motion, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. All right, now we'll do internal financial controls. And I'm going to
This is the
presume,
one from last month that got pushed to this month. right?
okay,
I believe so.
I think this was supposed to be on, it was on the agenda last month and we didn't have it prepared.
right.
It's prepared now.
Yeah.
And
So we moved to move it.
Yeah, yeah.
So this report's done annually, by the end of December of each fiscal year. And then the board has 2 months to look at it and make questions or suggestions or have discussion about it. And once it's approved, that we notify VSA that it has been approved. It just goes through all the different things that we're required to keep in place. And if there's something that's out of compliance, this is how we would report it to you at this point. And some things just don't apply to the center because they run a little different than the other K-12 districts. I briefly looked over this and I saw a couple things where we didn't know. And those will be things that I will try to bring back answers for everybody. One of them is do they hold current W-9 forms for all vendors? I found a large stack of W-9 forms. I'm not sure if it's complete. So we'll work on that. And it's one of the things that the auditors really are tightening up on that they want us to do. So that's going to be a project for us. The second one where we don't know is have all school board board members attended financial trainings. So I think that's something that we can have a discussion about and figure out if we need to have, schedule a training during one of the meetings so that everyone can be up to date on that. That doesn't necessarily have to be done every year, but it's important that we at least go through the training once. Then the VSBA can come and do that for us. Student activity receipts deposit with 48 hours. In the last year, we didn't have any because of COVID, and we'll be looking at our procedures for deposits. Usually they're made twice a week, so they're usually within 48 hours, but that's something we'll keep an eye on.
There should have been student activity receipts for this past year. 'Cause
I wonder if that's a carryover.
They did
Yes.
field days, they ran the greenhouse, so,
So maybe
think
we could
that's-
change that. That's something that I don't know how quickly they're made, but we could change the comment on the side if the board so wishes. The other don't knows, does each town and school district have official copies of the policies and procedures? We don't know. And maybe we can work with the members who aren't from the other districts to see if everybody is aware of them and needs them, and if we need to get a copy to them. We can certainly work with you on that. And then there's a standard procedure to ensure that gate receipts reflect the event's attendance, which doesn't apply to us.
No.
So those are the ones that may have been ambiguous that we need to kind of tighten up a little bit. If there's any other questions or concerns, I'm happy to try to answer them for you.
I have a couple of questions.
Sure, go ahead.
You mentioned the don't know on trainings for board members. Spring 2021 was
A while ago,
quite a long time
one of
ago.
those carryovers.
We might want to try to do something a little more current.
Yeah.
On the cross-training, both Alison and yourself, I think, have been involved in payroll, so I think there has been some cross-training.
Yeah.
Well, there was with Mark as well.
Right, I think it's really important that, we both, Allison and I are able to perform all the functions, and we'll assign duties as needed. And one of the things I talked to Allison about, I think it's really important that, if I'm gonna do payroll and she's gonna do APs, like every third time we switch so that you're current on it, because it's all well and good to know how to do it, but if you don't do it for 6 months, it gets hard. So
Yeah.
Allison and I work together to have an off schedule so that we can both be as proficient as possible, so things can run smoothly if one of us is out. That's really important. And when you have a small office, you have to really work hard at that. So that'll be something that we'll try to put in place.
Good, yeah. And then so I think that could be a yes instead of a no.
Well, this is looking back.
Yeah.
So I
But I
think
think Mark was involved in cross-training too.
Yeah, but I don't know that had completed,
Right,
Okay.
particularly as far as payroll is concerned.
right.
And there's a lot of functions in the business office besides just payroll. It's one of the big ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
it's critical. It's crucial.
it's the one that they'll notice if it's not done.
if you want to trash morale quickly, you mess up
Yeah.
payroll.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, let's not go there.
yeah, we don't want to go there.
Do you have any other questions, Nick?
Nope, that's it.
One question I have, it says, does each town and school district official have copies of these policies and procedures? So is it this that they have, or is there something more in depth? Like, if I was to go and ask Bridport and just say, do you have a copy?
Yeah, I
What
don't
would I
know
be
if there's
looking
ever
for?
been a formal copy out there, but because we run under policy governance, it would be that they would have the main policy governance copies of those or have access to those.
Okay.
So we can work on seeing if they have them. We can probably try to work on getting them on the website. I'm not sure where they
They're
currently
there.
are. So we could direct people to them properly. It doesn't necessarily have to be a book that someone hauls around.
Right, right, well, I just wasn't sure what
Yeah,
I
so
can
they
tell you
really
for
are on the
sure-
financial.
I can tell you for sure Bridgeport office does not have one in here.
We can show them how to find it online.
Yeah. I would not be very interested in producing paper copies.
No.
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 It's just not something I think we should be doing.
Right, save the trees.
I mean, this policy
Yeah.
dated probably from decades ago.
Before computer.
Yeah, this was actually something that has been in place for a really long time, and everyone kind of forgot about it. And I think it was back, I want to say 2012 or 13, someone from the state said, you guys aren't doing this, because no one ever talked about it. So it kind of came to the forefront at one of our VASBO meetings, and now it's on our calendars to get done.
Great. Are there any?
The one issue that I've always had with it, and I've mentioned it at the Mount 8 meetings, because we look at the same thing in the other school boards, is that as far as board members are concerned, when you look at this questionnaire, the answer to the question is yes or no, but there's no, is that a good answer? Is the correct answer yes, or is the correct answer no? And if it is, and either way, what is the best practice for each of those topics? And there's nothing with the questionnaire that kind of gives you kind of a cheat sheet to go along with it to say, well, if you're seeing a no in number 8, well, you better be asking more questions. So
I think
that's
that
something.
if we do some financial training, that'll be part of it as well. And just one of the auditor's jobs is to make sure that we are in compliance with this. So
Yeah.
if something wasn't in compliance, it would be one of the findings in the audit report. It's kind of
Sure.
where we would have to double check.
Yeah, the auditors should be able to tell you whether it should be a yes or a no.
It's not that it's that the board's going to become the auditors here. It's
Right.
just that
No.
in terms of us understanding it and signing off on it, which Suzanne's going to have to do here. It's I'd love it if somebody would just put like a brief little cheat sheet that went on the back end of this that said, here's what you want to pay attention to when you're looking at this thing.
And that probably should come from the VSBA. It wouldn't be very prudent, I think, for the business manager to tell you.
No, I understand. And I think the AOE puts this thing out.
Yeah, it's part of that, yes. But it could be part of the
I
financial
don't
training.
know why they don't put something along with it, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good observation, Steve, because I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that we don't take that financial people don't take regular vacations. Because we answered no, and I'm like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because it really is.
yeah, it's like, okay, anything out on there, it could be that the yes is the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Well, we can.
Is there such a thing, excuse me, as
Sure.
say like an executive summary that could be, which is I think what Steve's talking about. Here are the 5 things that we do need to pay attention to. Is that something that we've done in the past that could be a help to us?
Well, I've not seen it since I've been on the board, and I know at Mount Abe I've asked for it a couple times, and it's never shown up in the 5 or 6 years I've been on that board. So, maybe I'll write a note to the AOE or something, and then get them to come up with a little primer.
I know that when the auditors finish auditing, they send in an executive summary, which we will get to see in executive session, but not in public session. But other than that, I've never seen a summary of this.
I have it in my travel.
So we can find out. We can even ask the VSBA board. So, are there any other questions, concerns? All of a sudden, I get a tickle in my throat, sorry. About this report,
So move to approve.
Nick has moved to approve it. Is there a second? Tiffany's second. Is there any more discussion? If not, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Bill, was that a yes, a no, or?
You're muted.
Or maybe he's gone again. So This does need to be signed within 2 months of receiving it. So would you like us to have it come back when you answer a few of the questions and then we'll sign it? We have 2 months. Or would you rather have me ask for a motion to have it signed today?
It is past due
Oh,
at this
okay.
point, because it was supposed to be done by December 31st. So my recommendation would be, I mean, I know those things don't make sense probably, and I'm not sure why Mark may have put them there. They're not beating.
They're not
the
deal
door.
breakers.
No, they're not deal breakers at this point, so
And the
if we
board
could,
accepted it. so-
And the board, yeah.
so if we could get it put to bed for this year, that would
Yeah.
be great.
All right. So board, may we have a motion to authorize,
Except means that they authorized her to sign.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah,
we accepted it, but we normally do an authorization to sign.
okay.
We could just modify the
Okay,
previous.
so you may do
motion.
that. Nick,
Yes.
would you like to modify your and then?
And that the board chair be authorized to sign and date.
I second.
Second again. Any discussion on the amended motion? Hey, Bill, you're back again.
Oh, yeah. It's in the computer.
Okay.
Everything works the same.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Are you, your hand came up a little late. Was that, you're in favor or you're opposed, Steve?
What do you think?
Well, I kind of thought you were in favor of it, but your hand came up and I said opposed, so.
Sorry.
Thought I better verify that one.
I'll be faster on the draw next time.
Okay. Any abstentions?
Way quick.
Motion's passed. And I will sign your original copy or whatever it is before the evening's over.
Suzanne,
Yes.
I know we're past, but I kind of got bumped off there for a second. You were talking about the auditor's report.
Yes.
Is there a way that we can go back, say, 3 years and take a look at each of them? And that would give us all a nice way of, we can do it in session, or, you can share it privately, but that way we could all take a look at it and say, okay, here are the following things that I think Steve is looking for. And I think it would help all of us.
Okay. We can, I know at the annual meeting, we'll have the auditors should be there, or they're supposed to be there, and they're supposed to give their annual report. So you'll have this year's, or this past year's report. We can work on either adding it as an agenda item for a next board meeting, or we can send out the auditor's report minus the executive section of it.
That would be great, thank you.
Okay. All right, moving on, we have corporate resolution, which is brought to us because we need to do some updating on signatures. And so,
This is a standard form that's been done in the past, just authorizing the banks to put together new signature cards. And it would be adding myself on there as on many of the accounts as a signer or to have access to them. And it would also have Tim and Jay on there. And we need to do this again in the spring when Nicole comes.
right, yep. And I think we've seen this twice this year, so, does anybody have any questions about it before I ask for a motion? Can we have a motion to approve the newest corporate resolution, which adds Rebecca to the list of signers and authorizes myself to sign on this certificate of authority?
I just want to clarify, we have to specify names here, not positions.
Yes. Right. So on the front, you'll see there's all the positions, and then on the back, we then put names that are associated with those positions, and then that's what we have to certify. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Steve Orzek,
Second?
seconded by Nick. Is there any discussion, concerns about the motion? Seeing and hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion's passed. Statement for the Addison Independent. I started working on this and then it got way too long and then I tried it again and it got way too short. So I just decided, okay, I'm just gonna ask the board, what do you want me to put in this and how long do you want me to make it? And then, I mean, at one point I was at 2 pages.
That's too long.
That was too long. Just a paragraph?
Yeah, I think people like it short and sweet.
I mean, I wanted to make sure that I included in it, you know, how well received she had been in all of the interviews, because I felt that was extremely important. I wanted to include, you know, the breadth of her experiences from teachers all the way through assistant principals, directors, assistant directors, you know, so she's run the gamut, as well as that she comes with a wealth of CTE experience. And then I wanted to also include where she is actually arriving from.
Is there a possibility of saying it kind of succinctly and giving them a link to her bio on like our webpage, that it has like a more detailed biography?
Well, this is going in the Addison Independent, so I don't
right,
know
so you
if
can't.
they
unless
might
you
do a
just-
link on their online version, but I don't think that they would probably include that in their paper version.
Because I think there are people that will want to see the more in-depth, but then I think there are people that would just want to get that abbreviated version, so.
If we put it somewhere, like on the, you know, when you first click on the website, like there's an announcements thing,
Yep.
you might be able to just say in the newspaper version, go see, you know, the Career Center website under announcements for more information. And you don't have to really spell out a web address or, other than, you know, the main address.
Yeah, I think at a minimum, keep it to 1 page. Once you go beyond 1 page, people are like, oh my gosh, I need another cup of coffee.
But I did agree with the things that you wanted to include as a thing. I think those are all very valid things to include if
Especially
they've done
CT.
less wordy than me.
Okay, all right, so I will reword it, shrink it. I will send it out I will send it out probably sometime tomorrow. You can all say yay or nay, and then I will send it off to the Addison Sunday. So it's gonna be a
Suzanne,
short turnaround. Yes, Bill?
can you by chance plug the search firm, since there's some pretty big things going on in the county? And if the other folks would look at using those guys, I think it would be beneficial to all of us.
Okay, can do.
That reviews them twice.
All right, I've got my marching orders to change it up. All right, that, would you like to vote on me writing this? Or are you okay with?
Okay.
You're a good writer.
You do a great job.
You got it. You're a teacher.
You're good.
I trust you.
You trust me?
You're
Okay.
you're sort of already authorized to speak for the board to the public.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I don't like to speak unless you tell me I can speak.
No.
Go. You can speak.
No,
All right.
as long as I don't have to.
All right, Steve.
You can write it, Suzanne, but if we find a comma splice.
Oh, yeah. I'll run it through Tim first for all the comments and make sure they're all in the right place.
Happy to help.
So the next piece is board vacancies, and I did read to you Missy's resignation letter. One thing that she did say to me in a chat was that she was a WIB member representing Middlebury College, and she said she could not remember if there had ever been another member from Middlebury College when she got on. She wasn't sure, but she knew that she was WIB Middlebury College. So that was the only thing she told me in a chat outside of her resignation letter, which we do need to accept with deep regrets, because Missy is all things facilities, and she's also helped a lot in the past with superintendents and such, and she will be a great loss, because she has so much wealth in her brain of everything that she's worked on. So, may I have a motion to accept Melissa Missy Beckworth's resignation from the board?
So moved.
Been moved by Judd. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Steve Orzik. Is there any discussion or?
Just thanks to her for all the work she did on the facilities committee that now Steve and I are on, and you're there on that, yep, as usual. Thank you, Missy.
Well, all the work on the bond that she did.
Right.
Yeah.
So she put in a lot of efforts.
Yeah.
Well, she was a driving force behind the project altogether.
Right, she was.
Yeah, I think she may have led and participated in quite a few committees.
Yeah.
Community engagement is the one that I know she led, so.
Yeah. So we will miss you, Missy, and wish that, you didn't have to resign. We'll wish you best of luck. And we'll see you around, I'm sure.
Hope so.
May I have, is there anything else on that motion? No, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passed. Thank you all. That being said, we know we have now 2 vacancies. We have Addison Northwest, which we'd really love to fill, because that is one of theirs, and that's been open almost 2 years. And that really, we really need somebody from the Addison Northwest to fill that. I believe that is their community at large member.
So it's for Jen's Union High School and
So it's Addison, Panton, Waltham, Ferrisburg, Virgins.
Okay. Yep.
So I'm not exactly sure how the Addison Northwest does their member at large, but I'm sure if you can find someone that's interested, that lives in that area, if they would submit probably their name and maybe a letter of interest to the board, then they could take it up.
There's a couple of people I would contact. I'll reach out to a couple of Virgin's folks.
It would be really nice if we could fill it. So then the other one, it will be a WIB position, and Tim and I had quite an interesting jaunt through Vermont state statutes, trying to figure out exactly what the requirements are as far as representation on this board, and who they come from, and who they have to represent. Tim and I both read the statute several times, and we're like, this doesn't make a lot of sense. So I helped Tim out, and I went and had a conversation with Joe. Joe's like, oh, this is about as clear as mud, Suzanne. So basically, we can determine who we would like to have on this board, and then when we go to accept a person, we make sure that we put in the motion who the person is and who they are representing. So ACWA will meet.
Do we have any kind of a skills list of what we might be looking for?
So that's an interesting question, because we looked in state statute to see if there was any requirement such as that.
I think if they can breathe,
Raise their hand.
and they have a pulse.
Yeah, that's part of the criteria, but I'm just trying to figure out if there are any holes that we feel we need some extra help on.
I want to caution that concept a little bit. The board's role is not to fill holes. The board's role is to govern.
Right, but I'm just saying knowledge of something.
No, the board is not to be knowledgeable, it's to govern. It sounds horrible, but that's the reality of it.
Okay.
The board is not to provide guidance about curriculum or programming or anything like that. It's to vet what the administration brings to the board.
Right, but my question is more of, what are we missing as a board in the way of skills that we want that would help us govern better? That's really what my question is.
Yeah, and the answer, I think, is two breathing individuals.
And it sounds like it's more about regional representation
Correct.
versus,
Yeah.
yes.
And so, Bill, your question might be more specific towards like the program advisory committees, to making sure that those are full and we have people on those that have those skills for each program area.
Yeah, that is very important.
So I will tell you, as you know, so I told you I went through state statute. Tim and I read it again. But I also then made a very interesting journey around the state of Vermont and checked other CTE boards as far as what they had on their boards. And it's all across the board, quite literally. Some of them just have superintendents and business managers, and others have superintendents, business managers, community members, business people on them. So the makeup for CTE boards are totally different wherever you go. So that's all I know.
I mean, there's really nothing saying that we wouldn't benefit from having a stay-at-home mom on board.
Yeah.
You know, there's just nothing,
No.
you know, would be an added perspective, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Suzanne, does it have to be, because it's a WIB member, specifically Workforce Investment Board member, does it have to be, because Fred would normally be involved in like helping with this process, right, and finding the person.
So
I'm just wondering how that part fits into it. Not
So
that
the-
a stay-at-home person
Right.
couldn't be on the board.
So the Workforce Investment Board is no longer, it doesn't exist in Middlebury or actually in Addison County anymore. So overseeing or taking that place of that or accepting the role has been the Addison County Workforce Alliance Group. So they have, you know, people come to them, or we as a board have found people that are interested. We've submitted names to them, and then they do their interviews and whatnot, and then they bring that name. That group then has had the privilege of voting on it, and then they bring the name to us, and then we vote. But by state statute, it doesn't even sound like we really have to do that. That may be an old process that was a long time ago, but it's no longer.
There's nothing in statute
Yeah.
that says that we should be
There's
doing
an
that.
obligation to,
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and like
Well, I
I
also, I mean, I got on this board by vote of the board I'm on.
right,
So that's, you know, the other thing is that, aside from the community, even the community at large member, I mean, Kim, I think even you were we renew your vote,
Right.
your position out of the Mount 8 board every year. So
yeah,
it's really, it might be a push, a bit of a push to the Addison Northwest board to say, you know, come on, guys,
Well,
help us
actually,
out, help us out here.
Steve, I can speak to that. I know that they have been actively looking. John Straub, who's the chair, has been actively pursuing, trying to
Yeah, I'm
find
sure
someone.
they
So,
have.
yeah, it's just, I mean, you need
we've
somebody
even
who's willing
raised our
to do it.
stipend. Well, we've raised our stipend, and that hasn't made them come banging on our doors.
No, you have to want to do it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And I mean, the amount of work on this board is by far, far less than what it is on like ACSD board or probably Mount Abe. I've been seeing the emails about your meetings over there. And so that's so.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. I mean, thankfully we have, you know, Christina on the board, but it's tough to be a board member and be on this board.
So we will carry on, and maybe we'll discuss it a little bit later. informational agenda. We had plenty of reports in there, and we have Dan here, and I asked if Dan would come and teach us all things makery. Like, how's it run, and all that good stuff, so.
Hello, everyone.
Let's make sure that they can see it on there.
Well,
Patrice is sharing.
Maybe better to get
Pardon?
you. Maybe better to get
Head down the other end.
Well, because
Actually, if you wanted to sit over by Linda, that's the,
And Patrice, you'll just either nod as you choose.
Steve and Bill, can you see the presentation?
yep.
Slideshow there at all.
Yes.
Okay. Can you still see it?
Yes.
My name's Dan Callahan. I'm here in my capacity as the Makery Coordinator. I'm going to kind of try and give you a little overview about the Makery, maker spaces, a little bit in general, but mostly about the Makery here at the Career Center. So sort of how it all began, probably the last 5 or 10 years, there's been kind of a wave of makers across the country wanting to get together in spaces and collaborate together, work creatively together, have access to equipment that normally you may not have in your home or in your own workshop, and a place that would be welcoming to young adults, seniors, artists, entrepreneurs, pretty much anyone. A handful of people in the community were sort of bitten by that bug back in 2017, 2018 or so. I believe Bill was a part of that first group. And so a group of people came together, community partners, interested volunteers, PhD faculty and administrators, and they formed what is now the Makery Steering Committee. After lots of discussions, visiting other maker spaces in the state of Vermont, meetings, fundraising, and so on, the Makery was born here at the Career Center under the Adult Ed program. The first round of funding that came into the Makery was a successful GoFundMe campaign. It raised about $10,000. And that was thanks to community members, local partners, and I think something that ought to be noted there is that the largest single contribution to the campaign came from a former Career Center student who now lives in Texas. I was involved at that period. I stepped away for a while then. I had kids in sports and a son who had just moved back after being in the Navy and hadn't seen much of him for 3 or 4 years, so I decided to take a little break. So there are a few gaps in my knowledge. Next, please. So the current Makery funding model largely relies on grants, fees, and sponsors. The logos presented have been some of the sponsors over the years. It's not a big part of my role to sort of get too involved in the financial parts of the Makery, but thanks to Rebecca, who's, as you all know, only been here 4 days, helped pull together some stuff for me, or helped me pull some stuff together. The current Makery checkbook balance has about $18,000 in it. Our year-to-date expenses are about $4,800, with the largest chunk of that going towards my salary as the Makery Coordinator at about probably $3,000 when you add the Social Security on there as well. Next, please. My role as a Makery Coordinator, my main focus is to ensure things run smoothly on Makery night. I maintain a presence during the Makery hours. I recruit and schedule the Makery mentors, and I'll talk quite a bit about the mentors throughout this. They're a vital part of the Makery. I make sure users adhere to policies that are, safety procedures and so on. Attend, tool trainings, Anyone that's involved in it has to go through a background check, all of those things. I update the Makery website, events calendar, and I create a email newsletter, and I also post listings to the Front Porch Forum. So the bulk of my job is sort of hands-on. The bulk of my hours are when I'm here on a Thursday night. During the winter, we kind of scale back, generally between 5 and 8, but we've left here at 9:30 or 9:45. People that are engaged, I usually don't mind staying. As I mentioned earlier, the mentors are, they're all volunteers, and they're a vital part of the success of the Makery. They're also a big part of the community, and they're big advocates for the Career Center. During the sort of heavy COVID times, the sewing Makery mentors made things like masks and disposable gowns for the Visiting Nurse Association, the Open Door Clinic, and the United Way. They did that either in their homes or in the sewing lab. Also during the peak of COVID, they continued to do Zoom sewing lessons, which people who were sort of stuck inside, that was a big outlet for them, and we got a lot of feedback on how positive that was for them. Several of the mentors have made their own specialized equipment available to people. One example being a Sailmaker sewing machine, which is a fairly unique piece of equipment, and it's probably being used right now downstairs. The mentors have also, many of them have agreed to volunteer with the Team Makery, which I'll say a little more about that in a minute. They've also made themselves available to the ART program for things like costume making or prop making, anything that involves any of their skill sets. So they're really an amazing group of people. Several of them have said to me that doing the Makery is one of their favorite things. And one Makery mentor just returned back from a trip to Egypt, and I was corresponding with him about when would he be back to be able to come back and so on. And his last response to me was that he couldn't wait to get back to mentoring. So, thanks, please. Member numbers. Excuse me one second. This year, it looked like our numbers were down a little bit. We had 49 active members in the year listed there. And those members may have attended once, or they may have come 10 times. So the numbers don't really tell the true story. We also have, on occasion, this happened a few weeks ago, I had like 6 or 8 college students come down, and while they didn't actually attend, it started a dialogue with them that they have some obstacles about transportation or where to store things or how to even purchase things like lumber. And so we've started some conversations on how we can better accommodate students as well as other people that may have some limitations as far as getting here or getting access to materials. Another thing that affected things a bit was, as you all know, the Career Center was pretty much closed last summer. Construction, so the sewing lab didn't run at all, and the wood shop had to be closed a couple of times during the asbestos abatement. We also maintain a database of 350 email addresses. They're all people who signed up asking for information about the Makery. I do a monthly email newsletter that has a approximately 50% open rate and 5% click rate. Those are apparently pretty decent numbers as far as email campaigns. Half the people open it, 5% actually click on a link to look at an event. The current labs that we have available, we have the wood shop and the sewing lab. They're both very well-equipped labs. They have pretty much any tool you need to make something out of wood or sew something. Hammers, glue, joiners, Sailmaker things, thread, fabric, and so on. Again, I'll mention the most valuable thing we have in those labs are the mentors. They bring a wealth of knowledge, and they're very friendly and kind to the people who come in, even though they're can get a little hectic in there at times. Next, please. This is a little something I call like the maker's mission. It feels like there are sort of 3 different types of people who come in, or I categorize them as sort of 3 different ways. That they're makers who want to make things versus going out and buying them. You know, examples like boat covers and sails, clothing, furniture. We also have makers who either want to make a business, make a prototype for a business, or enhance an existing business. And the last group is people who just want to come in and be here and utilize what we have, learn some tools, learn something new, socialize a little bit, just be part of the community. Here are a few sort of examples of things that have come out of the Makery, both in terms of either items they've made, businesses that have formed, and some quotes about some things that people who've had the experience here have to say about the Makery. Nathaniel, he was a college student. Him and a couple of co-founders now have a company called Tree Line Terrains. It's custom 3D wood maps. They have 5 people now working there. I think, Nathaniel makes some good points as far as, his advice to other entrepreneurs that the makery space is not just the physical space or the tools, but again, it comes back to those mentors that it's this great community of people that are willing to offer their expertise and guide people through things. And he says at the end, wouldn't have turned this into a business without, the access to the equipment here and thinking that, hey, you could actually turn this into something. Next, please. These are sort of a couple examples of members and quotes of people who talk about how important the Makery is to the community. Barbara, up in the top right, she's a jewelry maker who had no experience with woodworking, but came in and with some guidance was able to make displays to better display her wares and easily pack them up and move them to different events. Sue, down here on the bottom, she's a senior citizen who utilizes both the wood shop and the sewing lab, and she makes some pretty unique birdhouses. She's had a number of inquiries about would she make birdhouses for people, because people have seen them and find them quite unique. You can read the quotes if you'd like, but I'll give you a kind of nutshell version that, they basically are saying, don't come in here intimidated. People will show you how to use the tools. No matter how big or small your project is, there's someone there who can help you. And the Makery is an undiscovered community asset, and she'd miss it if it weren't here. And same above, you'll be supported and given the help you need to accomplish the project. And I think those are sort of the keys to the Makery. Next, please. The quote here on the top left is one of my favorites. We were asking how somebody had heard about the Makery, and it was from a tool training listing on the Front Porch Forum. And Barbara came in and 3 other women, and they felt intimidated at first because they were not familiar with tools. But as you see, when they left, they felt capable and empowered. And I think, again, that sort of speaks volumes about how the Makery helps people out. The dress over here, that was made out of silk by a college student. And down below, it talks about Wendy and Faith, the Sewing Lab mentors, being friendly and helpful and enthusiastic. And I think the same thing goes on in the wood shop, that there's a lot of enthusiasm. People share their ideas. People are happy to talk about what they're doing with other makers. So it's a really, to me, it's a great space. Next, please. So To me, projects like this can be measured in a lot of different ways. You know, are we fulfilling the mission? You know, are we getting students and seniors and entrepreneurs and stuff in here? And my answer to that is yes, we are. Are people building versus buying, starting businesses or making prototypes? Yep. And are people learning and exploring? And I'd say again, Sue's a great example of that. You know, she comes in and learns new things. You know, are we adding value to the community? I think many of those quotes speak to that, and the goodwill that we create with the community and that voice that they carry out into the community is very good. Is it adding value to the Career Center? Again, I have to say yes. You know, we have had people come in who've toured and they've never set foot in the Career Center before. They've joined up and they're just astonished by what goes on here, and I think they leave here thinking any student who gets to go here, this is the greatest place in Madison County, that how lucky are they to go here. Is it self-sustaining? I would say thus far it has. Probably like a lot of these questions, they're not, they don't end here. You know, we have to be able to make sure that, you know, we may get to June and yes, we've sustained ourselves, but it has to continue. So next one. So what's next for the Makery? To bring back some of the labs that existed in the past, 3D printing, laser cutting, establishing some new ones. We have a new CNC plasma machine downstairs. Some feedback I've received is that people would like maybe some workshops around entrepreneurship or some business skills, and whether that would be the Makery or adult ed, I'm not sure, but I think there's a need for that. We've recently added the Teen Makery, which is basically the Makery open just to teens. Thanks to some help from the Vermont Community Health Equity Partnership, we're able to provide food when they arrive, provide some transportation, and again, I'm seeing students, former students, current students, and students who currently do not attend the Career Center, but it gives them a glance inside the door that maybe they don't get to see on their tour or so on. So again, I'd like to think it benefits the Career Center. And lastly, the steering committee has shrunk over the years. I think it would be important to build that back up and add some new members, and hopefully with their help initiate some new fundraising efforts, create a budget and a financial plan, because that seems like what's necessary to move the career or the Makery forward and sustain itself.
Great, thank you. Does anybody have any questions? We'll start with Kim.
Yeah, a couple things. A few years ago, and you probably remember this, you did a Makery piece. I think it coincided with open house.
Yes.
Where people came in, and it was like crazy.
That was, yes.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And I think the Solid Waste District is doing something for Gens this weekend, maybe, similar to that, where people can sign up and say, I need my lamp fixed, or
yeah.
I have this clothing, the zippers, you know, help me with this. Anyway, so it just, I thought of bringing people in, you know, and I think, again, it coincided with the open house, so it was pretty crazy during that time, but people are still talking about it. You know, they really enjoyed that time. Like you said, it brought them in, they got a little exposure to the rest of the departments that go on during the course of the day, and are still, you know, kind of talking about it. The other question I have is, I have a friend of mine who does upholstery work, and she would love to intern somebody or train somebody to do what she does. And I'm wondering if that type of outreach is going on in the Makery, or could happen to people who do have their own business like that, and be willing to, you know, she has the skill set, she has the equipment, it's just a matter of getting somebody who might be interested in doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something probably I should consider adding, is some sort of, you know, how can we connect people like that? That maybe somebody comes in for sewing and they're looking for a specialized, you know, upholstery or something.
Exactly. You know, and how to do it, how to set it up. Maybe in that newsletter, it's an opportunity, or a front porch forum, to be able to say, hey, are you looking for someone to train or an apprenticeship with a particular skill that you have? and might be interested in, can we help you with that?
Yeah.
And just to open up that conversation, because, she's asked me because she knows I'm on this board, but
Yep.
she's like, I don't know where to go to do that. And is that something that could be offered in adult ed, all
Yeah.
those types of things?
Yeah.
Hey, Dan,
Yes.
can I address that? Just because, yes, I was there at the beginning, and I traveled around to most of the bakeries in the state. And what your friend would probably want to do, Kim, which works really well, is have 2 or 3 classes on upholstery. Come in and teach some
Yeah.
people.
See if she wanted to do that.
Tim of Timco Jewelers is part of the Mint in Rutland, and he set up an entire jewelry making facility. And he goes in and he actually teaches people how to do it. And then they want to do all kinds of other stuff. They go to see him.
Right.
And it's, it's one of those things, if you can show people what it's like and they say, wow, that would be really neat. And besides, it would get her in, and she'd probably get a lot more business out of it anyway. But, sorry, Dan.
She may not need it anymore right now.
That's what I mean. She'd love to train somebody so she can take them.
Well, and another thing we did a handful of years ago is during one of those open houses, we did the Maker Fair.
Right.
And that's
Remember
where
that.
people
Yeah.
like that could come in and sort of demonstrate what they do and make, and there were a lot of conversations that happened.
There's another gentleman over in Shoreham Upholstery, and they do a lot of car stuff,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
boat cushions, things
Yeah.
like that, and they do tremendous work.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
he shows some of his stuff once in a while, but that's a big
Jim
skill set
O'Toole.
that's needed.
Jim O'Toole.
That's another person maybe to
Yeah.
approach, to have him come in
Yeah.
and do that, because I'm sure he wants to train somebody.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's well known throughout the
Very.
country.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very good too.
Anyone else have?
I got a quick question.
Bill?
Dan, are there any weekend hours?
Currently, no, but that is something we have definitely been talking about.
So a couple things I was wondering. So you mentioned the entrepreneurial workshop. So Vermont Small Business Association has several current teachers that actually
Oh.
teach a course on it. Bobby Jo Dickinson, she works over at Champlain Valley Union High School. CVU.
BBU.
So she teaches it. And she's really great. You'll have to do a little jazzercise if you were to get her in, because she starts every class with jazzercise.
Oh.
So you also have to learn how to do a little dancing. It's just not a problem. And then my other question was, you mentioned the steering committee. Who's on it?
David Cole from Mechanical Advantage, Faith, Dea, which her last name a little bit, one of our maker mentors, Dana Hart from the Ilsley Library, Daniel Houghton, who's a Middlebury College student who also brings his class down here to the Fab Lab.
Middlebury College professor.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
He's here a lot.
Yes. I'm probably missing someone. And that's kind of thing we've sort of, Dana is sort of taking a little bit of a leave. She's got a big project at the Ilsley going on and just sort of wants to keep connected, but can't necessarily be as big a contributing member as she once was. We had a few others, Gary's last name, but he had worked at the generator in Burlington. He's kind of asked like he'd like to step away and hasn't been attending lately, so I think I got everyone. Well, and myself. David Roberts had also been a part of it. Yeah, I think I covered everyone.
And I know that they have a commercial sewing machine in there, so for the people with upholstery, as long as they remember to keep their fingers out of the way, because at 2,500 stitches a minute, that will run over your fingers and your hand. And not think twice about it. So anybody else have any thoughts, or how many steering members would you like before we go to Steve Borzik?
I think, 8 maybe, somewhere in that ballpark. I think,
Okay.
being able to divide and conquer certain things would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've been to the sewing one twice, and I know that the woodworking one got added as they found people to do that. We have other programs here that would seem to me to be might be popular in the community, such as culinary. That we have the kitchen downstairs. Is there any? I mean, how do you decide which programs, or is it just people that are coming in willing to be mentors? Because auto shop, I mean, people doing maintenance on their cars, kitchen. Well, anyway.
Yeah, no, the point is well taken. I think people have mentioned they'd like to have access to the welding lab, especially people who've taken our adult ed welding classes. I think right now it's that lack of steering committee members that it's not sort of cohesive when we don't have enough people showing up. And I can't believe I forgot Fred from Madison County Economic Development. But yeah, I think the steering committee needs to kind of regroup and come together and either commit to being part of it and bringing it forward, because I think there's lots of opportunities. People have asked about the kitchen and so on. Is that available? The co-op has used it to teach classes there. I know CDU, they have programs up there as well. I don't know why we can't mimic that.
Are steering committee meetings monthly or
Monthly.
Monthly.
Yeah.
Great.
When?
They typically happen like Tuesday at 10 a.m. and they happen entirely via Zoom.
So you could almost do one from a roof somewhere.
On the job site, yeah. I attend lots of meetings from job sites.
He does.
So, yeah, I saw one once. You were, I think, mud and something, and you had your phone propped up. Yeah.
Hey, Dan?
Yes.
Are there classes that are now being offered? Because I know that in the past it seemed like adult ed was kind of fearful of the Makery offering things that it might be able to offer.
Currently, we are not offering any classes. We've tried to, if it's a class that costs money, typically that would shift over to adult ed. If we were going to do like a class on how to build a small, end table where, we would limit it to a certain number of people. Once that number was met, those people would be in, and it was, we would supply the materials if we can, but it was of no cost. Those typically stayed on the Makery side of things.
Steve Rooney, do you have any thoughts, questions? We don't see you anymore, so.
He's eating dinner.
He's probably or playing with his cat.
I was standing up, so you didn't need to stare at me standing up. No, I mean, I'm sort of just wrapping my head around this a little bit, but I mean, it sounds great. It sounds to me like the division is more like people who want to come in and work on specific projects that they're interested in versus sort of a training exercise, which would be more adult ed. But does the steering committee kind of weigh in on both sides of that equation, or is adult ed a whole different governance?
Yeah, adult ed seems to largely be their own thing. They create their own schedule. They hire their own instructors.
Yeah, so that's more on the board's purview more directly than the Makery. So I don't have any suggestions at the moment.
Kim?
I took a class from the community where I grew up probably 40 years ago, and it was under similar circumstances. You paid for all the products, and it was how to refinish furniture. And it was something, you had your own piece of furniture, you could bring in parts of it or not at all, and go through the different stages of how to do it. And to this day, it was, I've shared it with many people, but again, the list of you might need these products, that kind of thing. And they could be responsible for that,
Yeah.
in signing up for it. But, and, work a deal with Obashan's or somebody so that they could go in and do that. That brings the community in. It's just another type of class that
Yeah.
really isn't adult ed, but it's similar to the Makeries concepts.
Yep, that's
Hey, Dan, is there any storage for people working on projects in the building?
Currently, there is not. That's something I've been talking a bit with Nick, our construction trades instructor, as well as the steering committee. They've made some sheds, and I thought it'd be nice if we could purchase one of those sheds to use as storage, so people don't necessarily have to cart projects back and forth. There's a few steps involved in that. We also have to get the okay from facilities to be able to place that out back and so on. But we are heading down that path.
Sounds good.
Any other questions? This is a great conversation.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Dan.
So there were other reports in there, maybe not quite as exciting and stimulating as the Makery report was, but does anybody else have any other questions on any of them? Judge?
I was very excited to see at the bottom of the superintendent's report that Abby LeMay West from Vermont's Own has put the chairs from Kyle Trudeau's class in the window. Abby, for those who don't know, came to the Bridport School as a, Linda, help me. AmeriCorps Vista worker years and years ago. And Abby showed up when my kids were little there, and she was instantly this force for how to bring people and students together. She's fantastic, and she's got her own store, and it's so cool to see her. She always tries to be involved, and I'm really excited to see her part of this whole thing.
She was delightful.
Yeah, she's delightful. She's fantastic. Yeah.
She really was.
Well, we only had her for 1 year, and there's still people that talk
Yeah.
about what she
Oh,
did.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun few hours. Well, it was about an hour I spent with her. That was great.
Yeah.
She's great.
Great turnout, open house.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Fantastic.
I missed the North Campus for
North
the
Campus.
second year in a row, though.
Really? You should have come with me.
I was having so much, well, my kids were here, they were having
You
so
could have
much
just left
fun.
them there and come home with me, right? I did say that the way the tour was gonna have to run was, you make them all come in the front door, then they all have to go through, and then we park a bus at the
Right.
back door and say, oh, by the way, now you're getting on the bus, nobody's in their butts.
Right.
And we'll take them to North Campus, and then we'll bring them back.
It's a really good idea.
Somebody might accuse,
Well, the other
say
way to
something
do
wrong.
it too is, I know there's a lot of motorheads in the area. And if there was some sort of
Car
show
Oh.
There you go.
at North Campus,
No one thought of that yet.
people, I belong to a couple clubs, but to bring their
That's a
vehicles
fun
there,
idea.
even the students, I mean, I know, they want to show off whatever they have, whether it's a tractor or whatever it is.
That's a
That's how you
really
get 'em
fun
there.
idea.
Yeah.
That's how you get them there.
Yeah, no one came up with that.
That's
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
That's a draw for the facility. I mean,
yeah,
and they want to show their stuff off.
yeah,
And so it could be student, it could be alumni and students.
yeah.
It could be, it
Yeah,
could be huge. It could be huge, it has a potential. And I have a couple friends of mine that do car shows, so that's
Yeah.
why
Yeah, we were, I don't remember.
I'll bring my tractor.
Bring a tractor. I don't remember who I was talking to, but I was talking about a couple of students from here that have gone on and have some really
yeah.
big car operations. Do you remember Peanut Holler from Virgins? No? Well, he's got he builds and restores cars, and
Well, you have other
Does
people too,
amazing
like
work.
Keystone Motors right now, they're down racing in Florida. But they have vehicles that I'm sure they would love to show. And, they're again, community-based, so there's a lot of directions it could go in.
yeah.
There's a lot of tractor pullers in
Yes.
the area
Right.
that want
Big
to bring their
group.
rigs in.
We would
Yeah,
love
that would
to.
be a good time for diesel.
That
Right,
would be.
exactly.
You might have to extend the parking lot if you've got some of those pulling
Yeah.
tractors in.
Yeah.
Not pulling, just showing.
Right.
Well, I
Don't move
but
it.
they are considered pulling tractors.
But yeah, it's a draw. You need that draw. This
So
one,
such a
everyone
good
talks about food.
Yeah. Oh, the food
Yeah.
was so good.
Yeah.
The student engagement in this building was so good.
Yeah.
It was it was really cool. I just didn't get up to North Campus, but I wanted to.
Well, they've practiced here, now we send them over there.
That's right.
That's right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Next year I'm gonna start at North Campus, and then if I make it to South Campus.
And it was amazing because there were some people that I spoke to said, "Oh, there's something. There's another campus."
Yeah.
There's like,
Yeah, they
what
had-
campus? I'm like, North Campus, and they're
Yeah,
like,
they
what?
did.
And I'm like, yeah, that's automotive and diesels over there. They're like,
And the farm.
Yep,
Yeah.
in the farm.
Well, next year Sustainable Ag will be up there too.
Ooh.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah, I think that's
It'll
an
be compost
important
piles.
piece. The other part with the automotive and diesel is the offerings they have for the public. I don't think a lot of people are aware of that and how that works, and here's the practice, this is what they learn, and here's the skill sets, that we can offer out, but.
Do the car show and the state inspections at the same time.
Anyway,
We
just a
we
fun.
did, we did talk about having a display in the main entrance here for those programs, and then, something specifically saying, please visit these at North Campus, or something like that, because we realized we didn't have any, like you're saying, Suzanne, not everyone even knows that there's another campus. So
Need a drone.
how do we advertise that a little bit better?
right, right.
You could do a separate one for just North Campus.
Yeah.
Could.
We also talked about the timing of it too. I mean, we do it at this time because students are picking classes and programs and planning out for next year, turning in applications. So we want them to be able to come and see the different programs if they're interested in applying. So that's why the timing of the beginning of February. It's not a great time to be outside and doing some of those things.
But that's how you jazz the following.
Right,
The following's
exactly.
real weak, and that's a perfect opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
That's a big building. There could be a lot of
Oh, yeah.
interesting vehicles
Tons of
and
them.
stuff indoors.
And if you do it a little earlier in the fall, it's still light up.
There's lights. No, there aren't lights in the parking lot.
No, we found that.
We found that out.
It was dark as all get out up there.
There are some light poles there. I wonder if they weren't working.
It's still a little dark.
Yeah, it's not as lit up as nice as it should be. But
No.
No, it's
But that's
not.
also because there's hopefully not very many people visiting it.
That's right.
That was also an issue that I noticed when people were going out to see the tiny house.
Yeah.
Was that when you walked out the back door, there wasn't a building light.
It's nothing.
There's nothing out there.
And when I looked up at the building, there are several floodlights mounted on both buildings that weren't operational. Nobody, Nick couldn't figure out, and nobody that was there could figure out how to turn them on, if they even did turn on. I was going to bring that up at the next facilities meeting, actually. But, so especially the one that's over Nick's big garage door on the main building bay. There's a floodlight right over that door, and it didn't appear that it'd been turned on in 30 years.
Well, we'll make sure those are included in the capital project, all the facade work that's happening and those sorts of things. Make sure the lights work too.
But anything else, folks? I would like
Can I
to.
ask, just state one little thing?
Sure.
The maple trees are all tapped, and
Yeah.
they're running like crazy.
I bet they are.
But it's going on the ground because the kids are going to vacation. So they're not saving it right now, because there'll be nobody there to boil it.
Well, Linda, there you
Afraid to have
go.
it going.
You're on vacation next week.
I know, but that's not my place to do.
Are you asking for people to come out next week to do some boiling?
I think it'd be great if they could figure out a way
He's got his
with
hand
a
up.
program to run
Judd, you
during
wanna go?
vacation and get out there and do some.
Yeah.
I think it would be nice. I know the instructor is leaving for his vacation, so it's not a
That's the challenge.
possibility. It would be great if they could figure out a way to save it or have somebody do it for them or whatever.
Because it's running.
Yeah, Chad?
I do sugaring demonstrations down in Shoreham at Whistle Pig a couple of times a month over sugaring season, and a lot of times I just boil water because it's only for a short amount of time and it's not worth all of it. But if that sap is going on the ground, I might, if it's okay with you, come over and collect some and take it down there.
Ask Aaron Townsend if it's okay.
Cool, I will do that.
I have no problem. We could plug the thing long enough for you to grab some.
Super duper. I'll bring over a 300-gallon tote.
Let's go.
All right.
That's the way it should be, isn't
Going down the
it?
ditch.
Anyone else? Seeing none, I will move on to policy 4.1 governing style. Who would like to take it on? Oh, Judd, you're so quick.
I really enjoyed tonight's meeting. I thought there was a nice blend of casual back and forth and a lot of really informational stuff that was formal. I think we've done a very nice job getting through the meeting on a somewhat regular basis. I mean, we're within our 6 to 8, right?
Yep. Okay. Executive session?
If you don't mind,
Yep.
a couple minutes.
So, may I have a motion to move into executive session for personnel, 1 VSA 313A3?
So moved.
Moved by
For
Kim.
Personnel, you said?
Personnel,
I'll second.
seconded by Steve Warzik. Is there any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Any abstentions? So, we will wait for Middlebury TV to